Well, hello, everybody, and thanks for joining us. We are here today with CDO Magazine interview series. I'm Denise Verdicchio with SHI International, and we're partnering with CDO Magazine, MIT, CDOIQ, and the International Society of Chief Data Officers in a series of interviews. And today I have the absolute pleasure of speaking with Dorothy Aronson, who is the CIO of the National Science Foundation. So Dorothy, welcome, and thank you for being here today.
Thanks, Denise. It's my pleasure.
Is there a framework that can be used for organizations in terms of digital transformation strategy development? Are there key components of a strategy that every organization must have? I mean, you just mentioned one of them, which is requirements.
Well,
what else goes into a healthy strategy?
Right. I think that the most important thing is knowing as concisely as possible where the organization is going. And it's really hard, given the level of discussion that's in, say, the president's management agenda or the NSF strategic plan. It might be hard for technology people to interpret how that applies to them. So I think one important thing is to do some translation between, okay, this is what this is where the agency is going to go. And the technologist says, well, what does that mean? You know, and you say, well, let's think about this process and that process. So I think it's very important to educate. I think the people, the HR people, the administrative people at all levels have to have the strategy translated back to them in their New Yorkers view of the world, right? In the personnel view of the world, in the IT view of the world. And so if you have to have those different, because the technologists or the people behind these various services might not have the vocabulary to understand the whole future, there has to be a translation back. And then each of them goes forward, because you look at a 5-year plan and you say, well, what's going to happen in year 3? Okay, well, what do you have to do here in year 0 or 1 to get to year 3? And if you don't all get to that year 3 goal at once, that's okay. But somebody's going to have to wait until other people catch up, until other parts of the organization will. So it's good to have, and this is very common, and we certainly have this at NSF, is we have a CXO council. So we meet routinely as a group and share our progress. And in an ideal world, we would also be clearly sharing our plans, or maybe I shouldn't say in an ideal world, in a different world, we could be sharing our plans. But I think it's very important to notice that the world is changing at such a rate that at the day-to-day level, even our 1-year plan doesn't hold up. Because things change routinely. So that goes to, okay, you create the long-term plan, but your strategy has to involve continuous evolution and making trade-offs of that plan and coordination across the various work streams in the agency.
I can see how that piece is critical. That looking at it more. We used to have 5-year plans, right? Like, gone are the days. Like, good to have an idea, but your what you said there, your comment about that, being flexible with the plan and looking at it from an annual perspective is right on the money. Yeah. Right. I say often, clarity is kindness, and that comment you made about the translating back to HR and all the different departments or stakeholders that are involved in any type of digital transformation is really just exactly that. It's making it clear, why does this strategy apply to me? What's my part in it? What can I do to help it?
You have to hold on. I'm writing down clarity is kindness.
Clarity is kindness. I say that all the time. Because I think a lot of times at work, we are either trying to protect people from a message, or we don't think that they deserve to understand or know the message, or we just don't even think that they care about the message.
You're right.
And we don't take enough time to explain. But when you're really clear on what the organizational objectives are, and why, and what your part is, like you said, translating, because it does need to be translated down to that line of business, right?
And I agree with what you're saying. People either sometimes they just don't want to know, right? But as you have to, in your position as a leader, you have to establish, I'm going to take your half hour now, and I'm going to talk about this. And I need you to ask me questions if you don't understand what I'm saying.
Yes.
Right? You have to sit here.
Yes.
I mean, I know you're interested in getting this urgent problem solved, but I also have to keep you informed about what's happening out here so that you can make the best decision on the ground where you are. And that is really, it's very hard. Human nature doesn't make any of this easy.
Yes, it's true. It's so true. But at least we have to try, right?
Yep.
So tell me, we talked about IT and, how digital transformation doesn't have to like be owned or even start in IT anymore, but there's still a piece, there's still a very important cog in that machine. So an IT department in any given organization will have its own strategy. And then we'll have the organizational sort of digital transformation strategy or digital strategy. How do those things converge? Are they two totally separate things? Are they?
So I don't know. I don't have a digital strategy. I guess we have, as the CIO and the CDO, for example, those two strategies are aligned. Why align? I guess what we do is share our various strategies across the various CXO organizations so that we have a sense. From a technology perspective, one of the things I do is I have various IT investments that go like HR IT investments and business process, et cetera. Innovation and data are also separate IT investments. And I have those investment owners meet. They meet as individual groups. I also have the whole slew of investment owners meet monthly and share their incremental progress and their plans. So I have a cross-cutting IT and data view of the world. And it's through that conversation that a lot of our plans remain in sync.
Yeah. So that's the intersection right there.
So this, again, it's so highly democratized and spread across the agency that a lot of people don't really even understand or see it. They'll say, oh, I'm part of the HRIT organization. And I'm part of this HRIT working group, but they don't know that two of the people in their group maybe are meeting monthly with everybody else. So we have to, it's all about communication and clarity of those messages that are, and it's hard because people aren't naturally interested. They might be an HR specialist and they don't really care that their leadership is meeting with, leadership from part of the organization.
Yeah, they're just focused on their tasks. Yeah.
Right. All of that is formally documented in our IT process.
Got it. Yeah, I guess process is like, we didn't even get into that, and that could be a whole conversation on its own.
Governance process.
But that's a good call out right there, that if it's in the process, if the process is well documented, then it's more likely to happen, right?
Right. Oh, yes.
Without it, it's not going to happen. Right. You really, I think, run the risk of losing a lot of valuable insight and buy-in and
right. People volunteer.
Cohesiveness. Yeah.
Right. There's a lot of volunteers in this ecosystem, but there's also some people who have specific duties.
Yeah.
And so we have both kinds of people. I have to warn you, I do have another meeting in.
Yes. Yeah. No, we're wrapping it up.
Okay.
So I guess my last question for you is, and it's not one I sent you ahead of time, so I'm going to ask you this, but what are you most proud of in your career? You've had a really interesting journey from accounting, which I didn't even know before we started talking today, to IT. And now you're, here we are, you're a CDO of the National Science Foundation. Is there one project or one piece of being a leader or one thing that you've done that you just feel really good about?
I think that, there's really two things. One I'm working on now, but the thing that is the most gratifying to me is when somebody comes to me and says, I joined the government because I heard you talk, or because, or you inspired me. I'm a young woman and I saw you and I thought, oh, it can be done. Right. Yeah. So those things, that's amazingly, it's powerful. It's much more powerful than the inventions. Yeah. And the innovations. The other thing is I'm very interested in workforce. I'm very interested. One of the things I'm working on now is outreach to underrepresented communities so that we can get to, so that, the CIO, this is something I'm working on with the CIO Council. we're working to see if we can collaborate to visit HBCUs, historically Black university and colleges, other types of universities and community colleges where we need these people to come into the workforce. We need people to come into the workforce who can provide new spins on what's going on. As I mentioned before, diversity is key. The diversity of thought is absolutely catalyst to change. And so that's what I'm really into that. It hasn't succeeded yet, but I'm working on it.
Yeah, I think we're all working on it, and that's what we need to keep doing in order to keep things transforming, right?
Right, exactly.
Well, let me just say thank you, Dorothy. It was a real honor to be able to have a conversation with you today, really, very much so. So thanks for joining me today. And for all of those out there, please visit cdomagazine.tech for additional interviews. Thanks so much, Dorothy. Bye, everybody.